I was laying face down in the graveyard, listening to the spirits try to convince me to just stay there with them. It would be okay. Just stay here. Rest with them. Close your eyes for a while. You'll be fine.
Welcome to the fabulously beautiful and very odd state of Virginia. You are tuned into a show in which I talk to certain people who have had experiences that explain why the state is so odd and wonderful. We've got a two for today. That's right, 2 guests for the price of 1, which happens to be, well, no price at all, aside from a little bit of your time. You guys may remember Bill, who's been on the show a few times before. We'll be talking to him about a unusual unseen resident who has taken a spot for itself in his domicile. I love that word. But before we talk to Bill, we're first going to talk to Trevor, who will also be telling us a couple of stories that are similar, but also about a time that he claims that he met a revenant on the streets of Gordonsville. And I don't want to spoil any of that, so we'll take it all from Trevor himself. But lastly, if you want to be a part of this show and share your experiences with the people of Virginia about the things that you have seen firsthand here in the state that have raised the hair on the back of your neck, have either frightened you or encouraged you. Remember that not all things paranormal are dark and spooky. Some of them are quite nice and relieving, honestly. It's not always freaks, creeps, ghasts, and ghouls. So if you want to be that guy or gal, get in touch with me. You can send us an email at oddvirginia@protonmail.com. That's oddvirginia@protonmail.com. I would love to hear from you because here at Odd Virginia,
we're ready to believe you.
So today on the show, I've got a friend of mine named Trevor who recently surprised me with a opportunity to hear his stories that I had no idea that he had to tell. Trevor, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Alex. I'm excited.
It's good to have you here. And just to start, we're going to go ahead and give you a little bit of an introduction. Now, I've known you for a long time, and I know a few things about you, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself first and just tell us what you think is important or notable about yourself.
Well, I think of myself as a pickle farmer and a YouTube comedian, but don't let my title as a comedian ward you off of these stories at all. They probably aren't actually all that funny. I grew up around here, deep in the bowels of Louisa County, and I grew up in a world of magic and fairies and ghosts. So this has been something that I've just sort of been around my whole life.
Were you serious about the pickle farmer thing?
I mean, yeah, I'm not making any money doing it, but yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
I discovered that cucumbers grow really well here. My local fairies seem to like cucumbers, so...
Yeah, my garden gnomes help me grow quite a few when the season comes around. Now, right now, we're in the dead of winter, but honestly, today it didn't feel like it. I went outside and got a tan.
Oh, man, it was a beautiful day out there today.
It was gorgeous. Now, you are quite a good comedian. I think you've mentioned before to me that you do stand-up on stage?
You did?
Okay.
Did. I have not done it in 3-4 years. I haven't done it in a long time.
And for the past year, you were doing daily joke uploads on YouTube, YouTube Shorts, which I always like to check out. You're very clever, very funny. If you want to just plug your YouTube channel here, I think if anyone wants a go through your backlog of jokes, this might be a great time to plug that.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I am... Trevor Stewart 1308 on YouTube.
And that's Stuart?
EW. Spelled correctly, I'll thank you very much.
Okay.
Aye, it was when the Queen went to France and later to Scotland that she changed it from the correct spelling of EW to UA.
Well, right on. Let's get to some of your stories. or your story. I'm not sure how much you have. We haven't really gone over the details, but would you like to give us a set and setting and kind of go from there?
Well, the story that most clearly came to mind, uh, part of why this one stuck out is because I don't have the sight, as it were. I don't see ghosts very often. I can feel them around me, hear them occasionally, but I don't generally see the ghosts or the multi-dimensional planar beings. I can just mostly sense them. But this time, this was one of the few times where I've actually seen the creatures. It was in the early aughts. I want to say somewhere in late 2000. And I was looking for an apartment to rent somewhere in Charlottesville. And I met this cashier who seemed kind of neat at one of the little back convenience stores on one end of town. And he said he had a room to rent for cheap in a house on First Street across from the First Street graveyard. And I should have known that that's just. I know that the spirits in the First Street graveyard aren't what you would call settled.
Why would you say that?
So this one time when I was 19 and hanging out with all the goths and the punks in the goth and punk house on First Street across from the graveyard, it was near Halloween and we were drinking heavily. And I drank about a half a bottle of tequila. Well, mezcal. I say a half a bottle, I really don't know. I was taking sips from the bottle, and then at some point one sip was crunchy. And then the next thing I remembered, I was laying face down in the graveyard, listening to the spirits try to convince me to just stay there with them. It would be okay. Just stay here. Rest with us. Close your eyes for a while. You'll be fine. Started feeling them try to hug me. I was like, nope. I'm up. I'm out.
Probably wise.
Yeah. I was really drunk, but I wasn't that drunk. So yeah, those spirits in that graveyard seem to be friendly, but not in a good Las Vegas kind of way. So I that, and anytime you rent a room for $200, no questions asked, cash at the beginning of every month, there's got to be something wrong with that room. There's no way that's a good room.
Hands down.
Right. So this was a room in a house, not a, room, not like an apartment room. This was just a room in a house. It was the living room at one point in this house. So I shared the bathroom, the kitchen, with everybody, with several other renters who I didn't stick around long enough to meet. I got there, and the door was off the hinges. Not the front door, but the door to my room.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like, okay, that's unsettling, but there was, like a couch, a coffee table, and I think I brought a chair with me. And one of those really early 20s bachelor pad kind of places.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My first night there, I leaned the door up against the door frame and tried to get some rest, knowing that I probably wasn't going to sleep that great without a door on my room in a house full of people I didn't know. But oddly enough, house was completely empty that night. I found myself waking up here and there to the sound of knocking on my door, but not knocking on the door, but like the door knocking on the frame.
Okay.
Woke up, lit my flashlight, looked around, nothing. Happened a couple of times. Nothing big. Made it through the evening. Next day, actually, my girlfriend at the time, who is also very magically inclined and sensitive, comes with, and we're checking the place out again, and she goes, "Oh, I don't like how this feels. This is not okay." At some point, I had moved the door off the frame to the far side of the room and had it in the corner, stood up in the corner. And as we were sitting there talking about how uneasy this place was making us feel, we both heard the sound of a dog coming down the hallway. And we both turned and looked out the doorway into the hallway, and I didn't see a dog, but I saw a distortion where the dog should have been. And you know how dogs and cats, animals, get that reflection off the backs of their eyes?
Eye shine. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the eye shine. I didn't see the eyes.
Oh.
Right. Just like, well, that's just, and she says, "Don't look at it. Just don't look at it." I was like, "Okay, I won't look at it." And so we didn't watch as the dog came in, went around behind the door in the corner, curled up, and stayed there.
Whoa.
And I felt uneasy but okay with this. This dog meant me no harm, or I assume it was dog. It was dog-sized. It seemed dog-shaped. Whatever of it was there. I mean, like watching the predator when it's invisible move, except for the only thing you see is the eye shine instead of the little laser turret. It was...
Yeah, that's exactly what I was imagining.
Yeah. So we hung out for a while, and at some point she was like, "Nope, I gotta go home. Good luck. Love ya."
Yeah, I'd probably dip after that as well. Did you have the lights on when this happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was like, late afternoon, late afternoon. Still light outside. Being the 1D10T that I am, thought, "Oh, I'll just stick around this evening. I've got a friendly ghost dog spirit to keep me company and keep me safe." And then it started getting, she left. It started going on into evening. Sun went down. And then there started being dark spots. Like, shadows in and around the room and out in the hallway. And it got a lot more dire feeling. And I started actually seeing shadow wisps curling around the door frame. And the dog was not happy. It had gotten up at some point and was standing up in the middle of the room, looking at the door frame. I made it about that far, and I was like, nope. I've got some punks across town that I can hang out with. I'm going there.
Yeah. You would think that a ghost guard dog would ward off, ghost intruders, but it seems like this dog wasn't really hacking it as far as the guard dog duty is concerned, yeah?
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I wasn't gonna go stick around and find out to go see.
Totally understandable. If I started seeing shadows where they shouldn't be, I'd probably take my leave at that point as well.
I was also a lot younger then and did not know that I have defenses in place. This was the other story I wanted to tell you. This has changed my attitude.
Well, you've got to resolve that last story. Did you move out?
Oh yeah. I think she came back the next day. We came back the next day. Got my stuff. Said bye to the dog, and I just never went back.
Yeah. Okay. That's basically how I would have played it as well.
Yeah.
You know, I've only been here for a day or two. Things are not what I wanted. There's something wrong with the AC unit, or there's ghosts or something. I'm not sure, but I'm out.
Doesn't matter. To heck with this place. I'm only out $200. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't stick around to find out. I wasn't aware that I had any sort of defense in this situation.
I was wondering, did you tell the landlord that you weren't coming back?
Oh yeah.
And did you mention why?
Oh yeah.
And what did he have to say about that?
He looked a little nonplussed and said, "I understand."
All right.
And because I didn't ask for my money back, he didn't have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Don't ask, don't tell.
Right. So this happened, this next story happened, I would say probably now 8 or 9 years ago. Maybe even 10 years ago. It's happened a while after that. I was staying in Gordonsville with my parents. Same girlfriend. And we were getting ready to we were trying to buy a house in Gordonsville. And she asked me to, I offered to run up the street and pick up donuts at the 7-Eleven because, I wanted donuts too. Because I'm a fat kid at heart and stomach.
I didn't want to say it, but that's exactly what I was thinking.
So yeah, I'm walking up the back street in Gordonsville. The back street in Gordonsville.
Yeah, like there is one.
Right? But yeah, the street is actually, it's a very small, 1-lane street, tiny. Very few street lights on it, and long spaces where there weren't any light. And about a half a block up from my parents, as I'm walking this street late at night, I notice something out of the corner of my eye. And I'm in one of the darker spots on the street now. And I turn my head and look to see, coming out of the garden shed that was behind this house that I was near, a revenant. I mean, exactly what you would think a revenant would look like, too. I mean, it was wisp of, looked like a hooded cloak, wisp of sort of grayish, smoky evil. Just headed straight for me in a beeline. I could even hear it, that awful, like, almost Darth Vader-y, like, breathing without the mechanical,
Yeah, just that deep breathing.
Just
yeah.
In one long exhale as it came flying towards me. And as any person gosh darn well should, I was scared. And I was honestly too scared to move for a moment. And it got to just within a meter of me. a couple of feet. Like, it hit my personal space bubble. You know that area where if somebody gets too close, you start being like, okay, back up.
Yeah,
You
they
know?
get into the air that you're breathing.
Yeah, it hit that. And there was this bright flash of light, a crackling sound. I mean, it sounded like a bug zapper went off. And I saw all around me just bright fingers of what looked like electrical energy. And just, and it was done. And I looked where the Revenant had been, and there was just this little wisp of smoke. Just, I was like, oh, wow. I guess I've got a bug zapper for ghosts.
So is that the protection that you were speaking of earlier?
Yeah. I really was unaware that was even a thing until it happened. And now, I mean, I fortify that. Spells, wards, charms, and stuff. I don't trust that on its own, but it is something that I do, I do have in my back pocket that makes me a lot less afraid of supernatural creatures. I'm less afraid that a ghost is going to hurt me now and more afraid that I'm going to hurt it.
Yeah, you need to warn every ghost you see now.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure I need to warn them so much. I feel like the wards and charms that I usually wear are bright, flashing sirens of "Don't touch."
Yeah, don't mess with this.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you said a description of the Revenant after you said it looked exactly like what you think a Revenant would look like. Because if you're anything like me and you play a lot of Doom, you think a Revenant looks like a 7-foot tall skeleton with rocket launchers on its shoulders. And that's definitely not what you saw.
No. I guess, yeah. That would be no.
I don't think there are too many people who have a clear mental image of Revenant, but my understanding of a description of Revenant, or more so what it is in general terms, is a spirit that has passed on into the afterlife but has not moved on from this, I guess you could say, physical plane or this plane of existence here because it has unfinished business.
Yes, and usually they are quite angry about something.
Yeah.
Revenant to me has the connotation of being an angry, poltergeisty kind of spirit. And
that makes a lot of sense. They're usually very distressed.
Yeah. I'm not sure what this one was angry about, but I feel like I might have solved its problems, just not the way it wanted.
Yeah, it could be.
I do feel like Gordonsville has a lot of traveling spirit energy in it. It holds a couple of ghosts and 3 or 4 that are just, tied to the town. But I think a lot of energy, it's a crossroads. I mean, Gordonsville is a crossroads. So it has that crossroads energy.
Okay.
Not nearly as demonic as people make Crossroads out to be, but it certainly is with the flow of traffic passing through. There is a flow of a heavy flow of, psychic and spiritual energy. And that town has, I mean, for being, 8 blocks long, it's got almost 10 churches. I think at one point it did have 10 churches in the town limits.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of towns like that around here. They're very, very small towns with lots of churches.
Yeah.
Kind of a staple for these little country hamlets.
Yeah. And I think it's partially because there's so much through traffic, there's so much through energy that you got to do something with it.
And so people turn to God.
Yep. It attracts the godly people.
Well, that is certainly interesting. I never thought about things in these sorts of ways. I mean, normally when you hear about crossroads, that's when musicians go down to the crossroads to sell their soul to the devil. I never really thought about it in any other context.
I'm not going to say that Gordonsville isn't demonic in its own way. And I'm not even going to guarantee that the churches in Gordonsville haven't felt the touch of the devil. But I think crossroads are, as with any construct, it isn't good or evil, demonic or divine. It is just a powerful conduit. And the energy of the people there, the energies that interact with it, define what that, where that goes.
So when you had this encounter with what you assumed to be a revenant, did you pick anything up from it at all? Any sort of impressions or thoughts? Or was it just a purely kind of physical encounter?
Surprise at the last second. It was angry. I could feel it was angry. It was looking to cause harm. I didn't have time to ask it any questions. Not sure it wanted to talk about much. And it was definitely as surprised as I was when it hit the boundaries of my ward. When it hit that bug zapper boundary, we were both completely taken off guard. I don't know that I got much from it. I do know that that there had been, previous to this, I'd felt like there was something wrong with that shed. Every time I'd walk past it, I'd get a shudder.
So this is a place that you'd been multiple times?
Oh, yeah. This was on a street that I walked daily, if not several times a day. It was on a street that it runs parallel to Main Street, and it's just a block off of the Main Street in Gordonsville, half a block off. I'd had time to, and it wasn't always like that. I remember when I was a kid, a teenager, it wasn't so bad, but it was when I hit about 17 or 18, something in that shed was off. Until that night. And then after that, it was fine. And we bought the house.
Oh. So it was hanging out in there for a while before it decided to come out and charge you.
Yeah. I don't know if it had been picking off other people. Gordonsville has its share of bloody history. And I do think that ghosts and demons don't always kill directly. Sometimes quite often they get other people to do it for them. Or talk people into doing things that get them killed.
Yeah, usually they provide some sort of influence over someone, and they can lead you on a downward spiral that might end up fatal.
Or just talk you into hanging out in the wrong part of the wrong street on the wrong day in Gordonsville, and you get shot.
Yeah.
That happened right around that time to an unfortunate young woman.
Yikes.
Yep. Wouldn't think that would be something that would happen in Gordonsville, but Gordonsville actually has some darker history.
Can you tell us a little bit about the dark history
of Gordonsville?
Yeah.
Well, let's start with it claims to be the birthplace of fried chicken.
Yeah, that's no way that's true.
Yeah. Yes. They hold an annual fried chicken festival. They say it was where the Irish immigrants who were used to boiling things in oil.
What was that?
Met the slaves, the African slaves, who were used to cooking up chicken. And lo and behold, the two oppressed classes put together their food, and you got fried chicken at the Exchange Hotel. And now this is a piece of lore that I heard, and I'm not entirely sure is true, but it might well be. The term whistle stop for a train stop that serves food also was coined in Gordonsville.
Interesting.
Because the woman who ran the kitchen at the Exchange Hotel, where they served fried chicken and fried blueberry pie to the passengers on the trains, they would come up beside the train windows and serve you right in the. She was a freed slave, and because she did not trust her employees, because she didn't trust, her slaves. She owned slaves.
Mm-hmm.
She would make them whistle while they were serving food to the trains to prove that they didn't have food in their mouths and weren't stealing it. Yeah. Any town that can claim those kinds of historical, even possible facts has got some dark and bloody history.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah. Also, in the late 80s, 1980s, because of the roads traveling through Gordonsville and where they go, it was a stop off for drugs on their way to and from New York, to and from points further south.
Yeah, that's a part of a major thoroughfare for drug trafficking. We've also heard that Waynesboro is quite the same.
They had family. There was family in Gordonsville over on the other side of the train tracks where it would stop. There was a stop off, and it would offload in Gordonsville to take care of the local needs. You know, everything from Charlottesville to Richmond to, you know, all the way around this area, this side of the mountains.
Wow. I guess it's nice and out of the way. Easy place to do a little dealing.
Yeah. I mean, tiny, small town.
Yeah.
Cops hardly ever go to the other side of the tracks. And there was a spot where people would sit, hang out, do business, called The Wall in Gordonsville. And that has a sound of gravitas to it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't it? Sounds big. The Wall.
Yeah. Impenetrable.
Going to the Wall. Yeah. Until you go look at it. Thing comes up to about the middle of my shin.
The Wall for gnomes, maybe.
Yeah. Everything's smaller in Virginia, ain't it?
I guess so.
It ain't Texas.
It's definitely not Texas. That's my only thought.
Yeah, no, this was it. I mean, not to downplay what was going on. It's just that this wall was tiny.
Yeah, not really much of a wall.
No, more of a curb. Those are the two stories that come to mind off the top of my head.
Well, you tell them very well, and I'm glad to have you on the show, Trevor. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It has been a lot of fun.
It was my pleasure. And one more time, mention your YouTube channel for anyone who would be interested in hearing your jokes or seeing what you're currently doing on there.
It is Trevor Stewart, 1308 on YouTube. And just so you know, you've got the right one. My logo, my corporate logo, the logo tattooed on my body, the logo on my channel, and pretty much every other logo that you're going to see associated with me is a yin yang with roses in. Nice and easy to find and see.
The yin yang with the roses. Look for that on YouTube. Trevor Stewart, 1380, you said?
1308.
1308.
Yes. And it's Stewart, Stewart, spelled correctly. Thank you very much.
All right, Trev. Well, we appreciate having you on the show. And if you ever have anything else that you'd like to tell me about, you know how to get a hold of me.
Thank you very much. I look forward to hearing more episodes of the show, and if I do have anything else, I will get in touch with you.
All right. Well, we got some more coming soon. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Good night.
Well, some people have guardian angels, some people have glyphs of warding, but our friend Trevor has a paranormal bug zapper. It's the first time I've ever heard of anything like that, and Trevor, I'm glad you have one and that you are okay. Great handful of stories there from Trevor, and thank you so much for coming on the show. I especially like that detail about the ghost dog in the apartment, which kind of raises the question, do dogs go to heaven? When our pets cross that rainbow bridge, per se, or perhaps don't cross that rainbow bridge, are they able to stay here in a spectral form? Well, that's a question our next guest, Bill, actually has himself. And so we're going to go ahead and throw it over to Bill and hear what stories he has to tell today. Bill? We got Bill back, everybody. Bill, welcome back to the show. It's been a while since we've talked, man.
What is going on, everybody? I'm really happy to be here. I'm super hyped that we were able to, we had to take a little breaky break, but getting weird, getting odd here in the old Virginias. I'm glad to be back.
Well, it's really good to have you back. It has been a while since we've last talked on air. It's been a while since we've last uploaded, and I really want to thank everybody who has been engaged, even in the 2 months of radio silence that we've had. People have been emailing and contacting and saying, hey, looking forward to the new episodes. Can't wait to hear from you again. And guys, Bill and I both, from the bottom of our hearts, want to thank you guys for being true, legit fans of Odd Virginia.
It's good to have everyone here. We're really happy that you guys are still, like he was saying, being engaged with us and everything on our Instagram, on our YouTube. We're trying to get exciting new things, talking about new adventures, and really doing some deep dives into some old stuff that is from the area and everything like that too. So, some weird things have been happening in my life. And so I was like, yo, Alex, you will not believe what happened to me.
So you just hit me up.
Yeah.
And you said that there is a ghost cat in my house. Now, Bill, is this the same Harrisonburg apartment that you've been staying in since last time I visited?
Yeah, it's my duplex. But yeah, the house is like 110 years old. There's no really easy way to say this. My roommate thinks I'm absolutely insane, for the record. Now, because I told him today, because this just happened last night.
Wait, let's be clear. I think your roommate has always thought you were totally insane.
I prove it a little bit more each day, to be fair. So, yeah. But so what's going on is you always get those times when maybe you don't feel like you're alone, right?
Yeah.
So, as someone who imbibes in the herbal medicines, periodically, judgment isn't always the best thing. But it felt like things have plopped down beside me on the bed before, or I thought the cat was in the room, because there is a cat. There's the amazing Prince Charles, my Charlie bear, that lives here. But Charlie's really cool. He's my Spoon. My version of my Spoon. Charlie and Spoon could never meet, though, because I don't know if they would get along. And Charlie's huge.
Spoon hates cats.
Well, that would be fair then. That would probably be a bad. So Charlie is my cat, and so periodically it feels like Charlie's here, or jumps on the bed, and I'll look and he's not there. I'm like, oh, you're baked. You're just being stupid. Whatever. So last night I was stone cold sober because I had a little stomach bug or something and was very gross and felt horrible. And I was in bed by 6. And Charlie, when I'm sick, jumps in bed with me and is Dr. Charles MD, and like nuzzles on me and looks out for me and everything. And so like he ate his dinner and he's nuzzled up with me, and I had the bedroom door shut and the fan on and the AC blasting because I just felt gross. And Charlie starts pawing at the door and pawing and meowing and everything. I'm like, oh, okay, buddy, you've been up here for hours because this is probably like 8, 9 o'clock at night. You've been up here for hours. Just shut up with me. You probably got used to potty. Go ahead. And so I open my door. He goes out, and then I shut my door, but I don't latch it. I just get it so where it's like door to door frame, but Charlie can just walk up to it and he'll like bump it with his head, and it'll swing open, and he'll just crawl back into bed with me. And like I said, I felt gross, so I rolled back over, and I'm now with my back to the shut door and my face to the wall, and I'm like in a blanket burrito, and I'm just laying there and trying to be good. Charlie just smacked at me. This comes into it too. Every time I talk about this subject, Charlie goes full aggro on me, and it freaks me out.
Is he hitting you right now? Is
He literally
boxing
just he like scratched at my arm. He just snuck up on me. That's why I paused for a second, and like he smacked at my arm. But I'll get more into that in a minute. So I'm laying there,
He knows.
and like dude, he does. So like I'm laying there, and like I'm not asleep. I'm just laying there. I've got some unexplained mysteries YouTube thing playing in the background, and I'm laying there, and I feel Charlie jump on the bed. And then I feel Charlie, I'm like, hey, Charlie Bear. And I didn't roll over anything. And I feel his weight on the bed. I feel him walk down the bed. And then I feel him get on my feet and like nuzzle up with my feet. And he does that sometimes where he's like, oh, I'm going to just cuddle with Pop's feet. And he's just like a little, he just likes the snuggles. And I was like, oh, come on, buddy. Come snuggle up here with Daddy. And he just kind of like wiggled and then like just nuzzled with my feet. I'm like, all right, buddy, you can stay at the end of the bed. Just be careful that Daddy doesn't bump you. Because like he sometimes will sleep at my feet and I'll bump him off the end of the bed, or I'll stretch my legs and like accidentally boop him or something, right? And I said, just be careful. And like I put my head back in the pillow, and then from downstairs I hear meow. And I was like, oh, what? And I like flipped over, and there's nothing at my feet, and the door is still shut. And I'm like, whoa, that's not cool. And I'm like, come here, Charlie, come here. Yeah, why don't you get up here and like scare away whatever in the blue crap is going on? And like I shake his treat bag, and he comes up there, and he's like, meow. And I give him a couple of treats, and he jumps up on the bed, and he's laying with me, and he's kind of looking around and everything. And I call a lady friend of mine, and I'm like, you will not believe what just happened. And I told her everything that just happened. And about a month ago, she had came over and like was just chilling at the house waiting for me to get off of work, and then we were going to hang out for the day or the evening. And so she came over, and we're just hanging out with Charlie because Charlie's her like best buddy and everything. And she says the exact same thing happened to her. And so then like the hair's standing up on my arm. It's standing up on my arm right now just talking about it. And like we're both like kind of freaking out about it and everything. And like, dude, I've got a ghost. I'm like, God, it's like it's a ghost dog or something. She goes, no, it's a ghost cat. The way it pounces on the bed and everything, the way it nuzzles at your feet, it's a cat. And I was like, this is crazy. And so like the last like 2 years, Charlie's been kind of weird. He had a bladder infection, and I took him to the vet. And like we're just like piecing stuff together, but like ever since he came back from the vet, he's just not been the same. And I don't know if like a spirit just attached to him and like followed him home from like the vet, that maybe a cat that like died there or anything, because this hasn't always been a thing.
Well, I was going to
But,
question
like,
you, Bill. Do you think you have an affiliation for house cats?
I mean, I like cats. I love cats.
I know you do.
I had a cat when I was a kid, but I've never had a cat as an adult other than Charlie. But like cats generally like dig me and stuff, man. Same with dogs. Most animals like me. I'm a pretty mellow soul.
You are.
So like most animals like me. That and like most of them know they're smarter than me, so they flock to me, so they feel better about themselves. But I don't know what, but like ever since Charlie came back, like he'll stare at, all of a sudden he'll just stare at like a corner of a room and start yowling and stuff. And like before he went in because he had bladder stones, he never sprayed. And he's been neutered, so he just sprays pee when he sprays. But like when the way I found out he had bladder stones is he wasn't spraying. He was going in the bathtub and squatting and peeing in the bathtub. And but I didn't realize it was him at first. That was causing these like weird brown stains in the tub. And then I realized it was him and he was peeing blood. I was like, oh my God, my baby. And like made an appointment immediately. I was like, such a smart boy, using the one spot that has a drain in the floor and it's white for daddy to see and everything. Good boy. I'm so sorry, but we're going to get you better. And we got him all better. But like every once in a while, he'll get aggressive for no reason. Every once in a while, he'll get really rowdy in the middle of the night. Like there's somebody in the house and he'll go stomping around, strutting and everything. No, shoo. You can't see. He just came over again and tried to swat at me. And like sometimes if he'll all of a sudden get really aggressive and he'll run upstairs to the bathroom and I have like the stack, the plastic shelving stack as these slide out plastic drawers from like Walmart or whatever. And like I can't keep anything in the bottom because ever since he came back, he'll like spray that with pee and he'll spray my trash can in the kitchen. Thank God it's both places that have linoleum and stuff and I can clean it up, and I'll hit it with the neutralizer spray and clean everything up and bleach spray and clean everything up. But like I said, in the middle of the night, he'll start stomping around and get like super territorial and act aggressive and be stomping around like somebody's in his house and that he doesn't like it. And like he'll spray and stuff. And I was like, dude, Charlie, what in the crap? So I'm talking, and me and Amy are just like going in reverse on this, trying to think on what this could be, what could cause this or whatever. But yeah, it's just weird. But like, so Charlie's laying on a pillow, I'm laying on a pillow, and I'm talking to the lady friend, and we're talking about this. I'm like, man, this is really weird. Like, this is a ghost cat. I wonder if this is why Charlie's been acting so aggressive and stuff. And Charlie's laying on the pillow and he's being perfectly fine. And then I'm just like, man, I don't know. Maybe like this week, one night, I'm gonna try to burn some sage with the windows open and stuff throughout the house and just, try to do the good measure kind of deal. Because, what's the worst that could happen other than my house smell like sage? And maybe try to get some negative energy out of here, right? Charlie snaps his head, looks me right in the face, and smacks me in the mouth with his paw.
Whoa.
I swear, and she saw it. And if she was available, I'd get her on here so she could tell you too. Smacks me in the face with his paw, and like no claws out, but his nails are a little long because I need to trim his nails. So it caught me in like the corner of the right side of my mouth. And I was like, what the F, Charlie? Why would you do that, man? I'm like, calm down, calm down. And he's like looking at me, his eyes are all big and everything. I'm start rubbing on him and everything, and he starts swatting at me and stuff. And then I'm like, buddy, just calm down. I put like a blanket on him just to kind of just hold him down for a second and calm him down. I'm rubbing him through the blanket and he starts purring again. I'm like, okay, good boy. Like, just mellow out. And so then I lay down with my head on the pillow beside him and I'm talking to lady friend, and then he bites the top of my head. And like, why we're talking about like burning sage and all this stuff and like what in the world's going on here. And then he runs downstairs and just starts yelling and screaming from downstairs, making all this racket and everything from the downstairs. And like, it was just the creepiest thing. It's like, dude, I need to like get some white sage.
I don't know too much about cats, but do you think that he might have just been bothered that you had someone else in the house?
I don't know what the deal is. There's no one here. There was no one here when this happened. It was just me and him and like my cell phone. Like we were just doing a video call. There was no one, and like he really likes the lady friend. He likes her more than me sometimes. But when all this happened, like, dude, here he comes again. Dude, Charlie. No, dude. Go. I snap my fingers and he just prounces away and looks at me and everything. I mean, I get sometimes he's playful, But like I was in a room by myself and he smacked me in the mouth and then he bit me on top of the head. And he's not you've been around Charlie. Charlie's not an aggressive cat.
No, he's not.
He's like super, super mellow. And like so it's kind of freaking me out a little bit.
What do you think might be bothering him?
I mean, I don't he doesn't like other cats. I'm like if they say that animals can see things that we can't. So maybe all these times that like he's just like looked off in the distance and started yelling and yowling and stuff, like he's seeing the energy of this other cat or whatever, and maybe that's why he started spraying like the trash can and the thing, like the upstairs and downstairs. He marks his territory in two spaces because he's marking his territory because he wants the other cat to know that this is his house. Like I don't know. It's really, really weird, man. But like,
You think there's another cat that's there metaphysically, in a sense, that is competing for his territory?
I don't know, man. Like maybe, like I don't know where this like. All I know is that it felt like a cat jumped on my bed, and it felt like a cat slowly walked down the bed and cuddled at my feet and everything. And I've felt stuff like that before in the past. But like I said, I try to be a practicalist most of the time, and like, like all right, Bill, you smoke a little green every now and then and everything, and it is what it is. Probably just a little baked and just like spooking yourself or whatever. But like I was stone cold sober last night, and when all this happened, and that's what freaked me out. And like I just thought Charlie was just laying at my feet, man, like he has a million times before. And then like I hear Charlie meow from downstairs, and like just every hair in my body, like, oh my God, I've never been freaked out like that, man.
All right, so you started feeling this cat. How recently exactly?
Man, I don't know. Like I felt like things jump on the like I. There's been times where I would have sworn $1 million that Charlie jumped up on the bed, and I turned and there's nothing there, or whatever, or like something walking on the bed that felt like Charlie, because like Charlie's not a small little kitten. He's he's so long that when he stretches out his front legs and his back legs, he'll take up 2/3 of my queen size bed. Like
yeah,
the
Charlie's a
width of
fat cat. He's a pretty big boy.
He's a long cat too. He's like a big boy, and he's like
he is
14
he's pretty
pounds. Yeah, so like I jokingly call him my house panther. So like it's not like something just like I dropped a lighter on my bed and I felt something bump the bed. Like it felt like Charlie jumped on the bed. There was something of size.
And this started happening the same time that
It's dude. So
that Charlie started spraying is basically is what I'm saying. Marking his territory is what he's doing when he's spraying.
I've just always like I guess I can't tell you exactly when I started feeling things jump on the bed. I can tell you that Charlie started marking his territory about 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
So you can't quite correlate that. But
I can't 100% approximately, because but I've just always brushed it off as like me just being stupid or whatever, or me being paranoid or whatever. And just be like, oh, whatever. I didn't really feel something on the bed. But like I like would have sworn on anything that my cat was laying on my feet last night. And then I heard him cry from downstairs. Wow. And like I was freaking out, dude. I'm like, is there like a stray cat in the house? Is there like a possum or a raccoon in the house? What the F is at my feet? And I like flipped over and there was just nothing there. And I'm like, well,
I feel like that's what you're getting at, is that Charlie is marking his territory at the same time ish that this ghost cat is making its presence known.
Yeah.
And do you have any sort of record on this house? Obviously, it's an old house. There's a possibility there's been cat there before. Do you know anything about that sort of thing?
I don't. I know there was a Latino family here before me that was like a single woman and a couple kids. And I've been in this house over 10 years now, or around 10 years. Yeah, it'd be like 10 years. But other than that, I know that the people that owned this before my landlord owned it, there was an older gentleman that lived on this side, and that's why my side has air conditioning. They had it installed back in like the 60s or 70s. I think in the 70s they had it installed, and the older gentleman lived in my side, and that's why there was AC. And then his son lived in one, like you know how there's like my duplex, there's one side of my duplex, and then across the driveway there's that tiny house that's like a modular home that's super tiny, where that mean old hateful woman lived that shoved me when I had my heel surgery. So anyway, the old guy lived in my section, and then once a son lived on the other side of the duplex, and a daughter lived in a little house, and it was they had it all just one big tract of land. And my landlord bought that from them, and like after the dad died in like the 90s, I guess. And he's been renting it out since. But that's as far back as I know about the property. So I guess I can trace back the ownership to the 70s, but this house was built in like 1920.
Yeah, there's a lot of lost history there. And possibly cats we don't know who have perished. I mean, that's a good number of cats that could have perished in that number of time.
This is true. I have metal detected the backyard and have, thank God, not dug up any cats. So hopefully no cats are buried in the backyard.
But Bill, this brings up the sentiment that a lot of people in my line of religion kind of go to is, are phantom animals really phantom animals, or are they demons who are masquerading as phantom animals? And it's a very interesting question to be posed, because in my opinion, I think animals possibly can have spirits. I think they can live on in the afterlife. You know, a lot of people in that religion don't think that you can have a phantom spirit in the afterlife, and that every single thing that comes to you in a spirit form is some sort of a trickster. Mostly they postulate them as demons. What do you think about that?
Oh, I don't know, man. Like, I always kind of dug the idea of reincarnation, and like we come back as different forms of life. I always had the feeling that like one of the reasons Charlie's named Charlie is that, like, I don't know, I just had like a vibe from my boy Charles that passed away back in the day. He's just laying here now, just chilling on the floor while I'm talking to you.
Hey, Charlie.
Your Uncle Alex says hi, Charlie. But no, Charlie's got so much character. I always thought maybe it was Charles Margolis looking out for me, because Charles would do like little funny dick things like what Charlie does and stuff. And like, God, we were doing 90 miles an hour in a Dodge Charger, going from Louis Armstrong Airport back to downtown, the French Quarter in NOLA. And Charles Margolis jumps over the seat and gives me a titty twister while I'm doing 90 miles an hour drive in the car. Like, Charles had a warped sense of humor, man. And like, Charlie kind of does too sometimes. He'll just mess with you sometimes. And it's just kind of the same kind of deal. I don't know. Maybe it's just wishful thinking. But that's why his name's Charlie. Yeah, man. Who knows? And like I said, I'm going to try to burn some white sage throughout the house this weekend with the windows open, and just try to let any negative energy out and stuff. And hopefully that mellows things out one way or the other. If anything else, it's been proven to be antibacterial. So, you know, the house will be a little cleaner one way or the other.
Well, thank you, Bill, for coming on and talking to me about your ghost cat. Hopefully whatever he does works and Charlie goes back to being a normal, sweet little kitty. I do love Charlie. Hate to think that he could be upset over something like that. Now, if you guys enjoyed that interview, go ahead and head over to our Instagram page, say hi to Bill. You'll always get notifications from our Instagram about when new episodes are coming up ahead of time, as well as more dark stories about Virginia that you won't be hearing on the show. So tell us what you think about ghost cats in the comments below if you're listening on YouTube or Rumble. Would you pet a ghost cat? Would you keep it around? How do you feel about ghostly animals? It's a strange topic, all things considered. It's not something you hear about all too often. But I do recall a story that I heard a good while back about a family whose pet dog had passed away. And every now and then, when they look out the window, they'll still see the dog prancing around and playing in the yard before it suddenly disappears. It's an interesting and somewhat heartwarming thought. Well, that's all we got for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Stay odd, Virginia.